Hello everybody, welcome back to Thomas Plays Games. I'm doing another Factorio episode. Just played this a little while ago, and I'll just be talking over what I was doing, what I was planning at double the speed, so we can all see it happen pretty quickly. So I started cleaning up a bit of the steel production, and decided when I looked at the coal, I saw that it was pretty darn low. Thought I could fix that by adding a couple more miners. I think I had 2 right here. Yeah, it seems to be all I have time, or all I have resources for there. Gonna run back down and continue what I was doing. Yeah, at this point in the game, I still only have red science going. And it's going a lot faster than it was before when now I have 10 different machines going for it, so it will definitely go a lot quicker. But now, now that I have 10 machines, I'm hoping to get to a point where I can add in the green science pretty well. And I'm doing a bit of finagling with all the different belt setups, trying to get some iron to come over here. And eventually I set up a system where I do direct insertion into the steel. I realized after the first episode that would be probably a better way to do things. Although the system I end up using does use a lot of underground belt when it might not need to. So yeah, after just placing all these things, I take them out and take all the belts out here. Gonna replace them with a bunch of different things. And after the last episode, I also did a lot of looking into video players, trying to get something that would be more able to handle the quick speed at this. I got VLC, hopefully that'll be good, instead of Windows Media Player like I was using before. And I actually full screened the thing this time, which it helps quite a bit. So this is what I was talking about before, where you need a lot of underground belt to go under the red belts, or under the red inserters. I could have put one line straight down just beside the furnaces there, but I didn't think it would be worth it. And after a bit of finagling, I do get the belts set up the way I wanted to, with coal going down the middle for the steel factory and on the side for the iron production to go into the steel. And then you just gotta clear out the woods. Yeah, these woods were a pretty big problem in this game. I've only done about 4 episodes so far, so I'm a little ahead of where my recordings are. But the woods mean that I kind of end up getting a little bit of spaghetti factory instead of a very perfect, nice looking one like I was hoping to do. Yeah, chopping down more woods. I'm gonna be putting these, not the most elegant way, but I'm going to be putting them on the bus in a moderately nice way. So that's those first ones are going to be for the circuits. I do like to belt circuits, since a lot of things that are pretty small do require circuits, so it's nice to have them on belt where you can easily grab them and bring them up to where your production area is. And yeah, just grabbing some splitters here. There we go. We got the steel coming in. And when I was looking at this, I noticed how low production was. So, seeing the problem is pretty obviously how little coal there is, I decide to actually double up the amount of coal I have before. So, at the start of this video, I went from 2 miners to 4, and I think I go to 8 right here. And those 8 should be pretty darn good for a while. And it's not full efficient coverage yet. I know there are, there's a lot of coal space left, but there are a couple empty spaces as well that I'll be dealing with when I need the resources more. These, because of the settings, I got very large patches, which are probably not going to run out for a long, long time. And yeah, the iron production's still the iron mining is still a little low, but it's okay. And now that I have some steel, I can make some steel chests and steel tools. Definitely the best tools ever. And yeah, just do a little belt balancing here. It might be a little much balancing it that way, but I like it. It's nice. And yeah, now I'm spacing out the green science. So getting, there's only so much red science that you can get, and it looks like I'm producing well enough, but it's not the greatest. So planning out some of the ratios, I still get about double the production of precursor to green science that I need. Since I could, off of one belt, and one belt maker, one belt assembler, and one inserter assembler. You can run like 12 assemblers for green science. So, I only end up getting 6 in here, but setting that up is really important in a way that makes sense and is scalable. And yeah, finally adding some lights. There we go. That'll make the video experience much nicer. So inserting onto the same belts, it makes the most sense to me. And yeah, just grabbing the gears from the initial production since... oh yeah, I don't end up doing that. So I was thinking about it, but both belts and inserters take half a second to make, and gears take half a second. So if I just took from the same gears, then it wouldn't be properly... or the production wouldn't be as convenient as possible. And the way I end up working it out, where I make the gears and then directly insert them into the inserter assembler, works out pretty darn nice. Okay, just setting the system up again. And I use the gray inserter or assembly machine ones just because the ratio does work out pretty darn nice for one machine. And it seemed nice in my head, even though it's not any more efficient to just use that one. It's slightly more efficient on the resources. But I just like having the right ratio for things. So the gray assemblers make at 0.5 speed, and these things make at 1.5. Well, I'm not going to go through the math, but trust me, it works out. Or if it doesn't, just let me know, and I'll realize I was a big dummy. Here we go. Popping that green science down. Just speeding it up so that I can start getting some of the other cool sciences. And yeah, the transition from red science to green science unlocks a lot of the really neat technologies. So it's really good to have. Trying to decide what I actually want to get, and because I don't have any pressing need or any good... I don't have any pressing need for anything at the moment in this part of the game, and not too much actual production of things, I just decide to go for the lab research speed. It's always good to get faster researching. And yeah, just picking all those up for myself. And yeah, just trying to get those produced up to 6 of them. Like that, yeah, just getting the spacing properly done. Yeah, looking at this, the iron is pretty darn low in production. I fix that later on, I just don't know when. And yeah, I decided to go all the way up to 6 assemblers for this thing. And yeah, just get a nice spacing, putting down a couple lights. Looks pretty good. So we got, we should be making, with this setup, I should be making basically the exact same amount of red and green science at a time. It won't scale, the system that I was trying to set up there won't scale into blue science, because blue science, you need a ridiculous stack of inserters for that. But it's nice for the early game techs, where there's a lot of good things to grab. And yeah, seeing that there was not enough iron, I decided to make some more mining drills, so just pop those down. The stack here gets pretty darn tall. Yeah, it's pretty big there. Yeah, I wonder how many was I making at this point? I think I go almost all the way to the end. Pretty soon here. Yeah, just making lots and lots of those guys. And trying to always get an even amount on each side, because it would be a little... it would be a little annoying to just see one miner going, when you could have 2. And looks like that coal belt got pretty well saturated. So hopefully with all those new miners, I'll be able to get proper production. Just checking the power to make sure it is still, the requirement is still under 5 megawatts. Because the simple 1310 boiler to steam engine setup gives about 5 to 5.1 megawatts of power. So just making sure that that's still going good. Now, it looks like production goes almost all the way down the column. Not perfect yet. And that definitely does slow down when I eventually upgrade to the different type of furnaces. Oh yeah, so I had a whole bunch of wood from all the cutting that I just decided to feed into the power, or the coal chemical power distribution belt. And yeah, I finally decided that it would be a good idea to add in the stone production, because I'm going to need a lot of stone. One, for actually putting down nice pathing, and two, to make all of the level 2 furnaces. And I'm just fiddling with how I want the belt to look. Yeah, I'd say that's okay. Ends pretty well. And then you just gotta cut all the way through the forest there. It is this forest, I spent a lot of time cutting before you unlock robots. It's cutting all the way up. So there's a small stone patch that I was mining in the first episode. I'll be using the same one, because the only other stone patch you can see on the map is pretty far to the left. I think that one on the top left is coal or copper. So yeah, get definitely a lot of stone nearby, but it's far enough from the main furnace setup that it's not the greatest to grab. Oh, and I made it all the way up. I just gotta actually start mining a couple guys. I think I only have enough for 2 of those mining drills. So at the start, when I first get here, eventually I'll upgrade it even more. Just gotta get all the power down there. And yeah, there I unlock the advanced material processing, which will eventually give you level 2 inserter, or level 2 furnaces, which pretty much double the speed of production. They're really nice to get. And what am I doing here? Oh, I'm fixing the power lines, right? It looked a little bit funny back there. And yeah, the iron coming in is pretty darn nice. It's getting used up quite, yeah, it's definitely getting used up a lot. Making all those gears and the inserters takes a lot of iron. And here's where I decide I'm going to start making circuits for real. So this is a setup I use pretty frequently. It's nice to have. Looks pretty neat. It doesn't scale well into beacons, but it is pretty good for an initial setup. It gives you a lot of circuits for the early game. I think... yeah, looking at it, I do it is set up just a bit, like 1 or 2 tiles too low. To have, like, lower than ideal. Just because it's a bit too close to the, a little bit too close to the belt, or the main bus belts. But it works out okay either way. And, it's, again, like a lot of things in the early game, you do want to have a temporary setup that you're eventually going to replace when you get beacons. But as long as it works well for a significant portion of the early game, then you end up pretty much in a good place. And yeah, I actually end up putting the inserters backwards. Good thing I caught that. And I gotta figure out how I want those. So I finished advanced material processing and decided to get solar panels, because yeah, getting nice solar panels is pretty darn cool. And yeah, so you can see the open area kind of curves up and to the left, because of the forest, which makes it, which is kind of the reason why this factory becomes a little bit of a spaghetti at this point in the game. So I got lots of copper going down, but I eventually, by the point where I can get copper coming in, I end up at a place where, yeah, so that's the output of circuits, right? And I do for this thing I make a 1 to 3 splitter, so I just had to spend a minute trying to remember what the heck it was, and I think that's right. It looks right when I look at it though, and I make a little question mark to remind myself that I wanted to see what it was. And just powering it so it can look nice. 1 out of place, so I fixed that. So yeah, the question mark is just so that if I build a part of the factory that I'm not sure works perfectly, I'll just check that. I always making sure I look at it. I just do a little bit of math in my head to make sure that it does work properly. So yeah, you only really need copper and iron for a simple circuit setup. I fiddle a bit with how I want this thing to work. It's because of the trees, it's a little more compressed than I wanted it to be. And normally I place the circuit production before the science, but I really want to get science going quickly in this thing. So yeah, I set it up. It ends up working out no problem. Looks a little compact and not ideal, but it does work. So that's what's most important. And I do end up connecting one of the copper things to it. And yeah, I think there's one small problem where I missed a belt somewhere, so I fixed that as I'm going through. And yeah, lots and lots of copper. I only have like 4 copper miners going right now, but because of the really low needs of copper in the early game, it doesn't seem to be a problem. And there I noticed that some of the inserters are going a little sluggishly. It's hard to see at 2x speed, but it's pretty obvious at 1x speed. So, looking at that, I need 5 megawatts. I need more than 5 megawatts of power, so I decide eventually, at some point, I'm going to double up power. And getting a bit of stone, I'm going to collect it in a chest so I actually get something out of it. Looking at the input, though, the input seems very, very low for the stone, so I'm going to go fix that. If you remember from a few minutes ago, I only put up 2 miners up here, so getting more of those would be good, but by the time I get there, I realized that power should probably be my top priority. And also, I was grabbing stone off the line, so because you need stone to make the boilers. And yeah, doubling it up doesn't end up too bad. Just chopping down a couple more trees, making space for all the steam engines. Yeah, getting this thing set up puts me at about 10 megawatts of power total, which lasts, if you're blitzing for solar panels like I do, it lasts quite a while. The only point where you're going to need way, way, way more is when you start getting robots or lots of laser turrets. And I realized I trapped myself, so I'll fix that. And taking coal from the source before everything goes into the actual machines ends up pretty well, and I make a nice, very nice looking power pole setup. So there, I went from 5 megawatts to 6.1 megawatts usage. So it's pretty good. And I do have almost full usage of that iron belt over there. Still making not as much iron as I would like, but enough to function properly. I pick up a whole bunch of belts and other stuff there. And yeah, the force is just a bit too close, and I realized I missed a bit of some poles there. So once I fixed that and put I missed a belt there. So once I put the belt down, then I got no real issues. And yeah. Yep. So now I just pop over here to watch the 1 to 3 splitter work, see if it does work properly. And checking there, it does seem to output in correct ratios. So I decide, you know what, good enough. Gonna get rid of the question mark. Seems to work well. And I don't know what I'm doing. Just running around thinking about stuff, I guess. Okay, so I think I was looking at the steel furnaces and getting upgraded to those instead of the basic stone ones. And yeah. So just collecting stone, collecting steel, just waiting until I get enough, waiting to produce the things. So each of those furnace columns has 20 furnaces. So I need 20 to upgrade each one. So I get enough to upgrade most of the iron. Because of the way the belts are set up, I don't really end up using it properly. You need faster belts to feed all the iron you need in there. But it does start producing quite a lot of stuff. And here I am, finally going to add some more iron, and eventually I'll be adding some more stone in as well, just mining the stuff. Yeah, it took a lot longer to finish solar panels than I would have expected, but now I decide I'll eventually start needing blue science, and I should start stockpiling some oil, so I'll grab the oil processing. There's like 4 or 5 techs of oil that you want to get before you actually start using it. So just working on getting those. Put 2 down, end up getting all the way to the end of the iron, all the way to the top. And yeah, it works pretty well. I'd say the factory is going pretty well. I'm checking the pollution. It doesn't seem to be going to any visible biters, which means I'm still safe from attacks. And hopefully I will be for long enough that I don't have to fight them that much. Or at least by the time I fight them, I already have like laser turrets and walls everywhere, and no real problems for defense. And just running around. Yeah, the difference between day and night, or the lit area and dark area, is just crazy in terms of how easy it is to see. And I'm just trying to clear out some of these woods, because I like to stick all of my production on the top of the main bus, because if you stick it on the bottom, it's hard to expand the number of resources you have. But if you stick everything on the top, you can just keep scaling to the left, and if you have more resources you want to add, you can just scale down. So that's why I am not just kind of putting anything anywhere in the bus, like, or below the bus. Just trying to get some good spacing of possible resources. And over here, yeah, so I finally end up adding the extra stone mining. So I think only a couple of the stone furnaces, yeah, only 3 of them are going at any regular speed. And that's just not that much stone, especially if I want to start getting walls soon. And just hoping to upgrade a couple more things. Let's see, not much time left in this video, so yeah, this episode was pretty good. It was just getting green science was probably the major thing here. Everything else was just kind of getting a couple more things, and yeah, it's been my episode of Factorio. Thank you for watching Thomas Plays Games. I hope to see you all next time. Goodbye.